Mr. Mayor, you're coming under some criticism for some of your comments about Black Lives Matter. Is it fair?
No, completely unfair. And I was just on CBS Face the Nation, and it is the reason why many people believe that the mainstream media is part of the Democratic National Committee. I was on, I stated my case. I said I have zero tolerance for police officers who are brutal. I've put them in jail. And I believe that Black Lives Matter is a racist organization that is helping to fuel this. Now, if I had an organization called White Lives Matter, you would say it was a racist organization. Or Yellow Lives Matter. Or some group that divides us. All lives matter. That's the teaching of the major religions, and that's the teaching of our Constitution. Black Lives Matter instigates a lot of the hatred and the division, and every police officer in this country believes that they and their demonstrations, some of which are not nonviolent, only the mainstream media makes it appear nonviolent. Some of their demonstrations are calling for killing police officers, slaughtering police officers, putting targets on the backs of police officers. So I made that point, that both sides have to stop. Zero tolerance for police brutality, and Black Lives Matter has got to back off and start working on, if you're really concerned about Black Lives Matter, let's start working on the real way most blacks are killed, like 1 every 14 hours in Chicago. The real way they're killed, which is black crime, and let's get control of it.
Yeah, but they, of course, would say, look, you've got these horrendous police shootings. You have Philando Castile and Alton Sterling.
Right.
We don't know all the facts, but he's being streamed on Facebook, and it's horrible. And you've got the other situations, the one in South Carolina, for example. So they do have legitimate.
And I began my opening statement by saying I offer my sympathy and condolences to all three.
Where do you think that?
In the first two situations, however, it's being pursued by the criminal justice system, and we don't know exactly what happened. Although the governor announced it was racist, a highly inflammatory thing to do. He doesn't know it's racist. He doesn't know what the motivation of those police officers are. It may be, it may not be. He should have kept his mouth shut. Second, when the police were acting, what were they acting to do? They were acting to protect a black demonstration against the police and against police conduct. And they got slaughtered and shot. And President Obama had the nerve to get on television yesterday and say he can't figure out the motivation of the shooter. Well, the shooter told us his motivation. Chief Brown had no trouble telling us his motivation. Here's what his motivation: to kill white lives, to kill white police officers, and to follow Black Lives Matter.
But how can you hold, in your view, Black Lives Matter responsible for any of this? It was a peaceful demonstration before this deranged man came out and did this, before this killer opened fire. Is it your view their rhetoric? Is it your view stirring up emotions? Or is it really fair to tie them into something that happened in Dallas?
You just said it. Stirring up emotions, their rhetoric, their demonstrations in which they yell and scream, kill cops. Those things are going to have an impact. It's the rhetoric of the governor of Minnesota saying that it's racist before he has a chance to look at the facts. And
what should they do? I mean, how do you have peaceful demonstrations in the street of this country absent these type of emotions that are very deep-seated and very thoughtful by many of these people, and well taken by African Americans in our country who feel that they've been assaulted?
Notice I didn't condemn demonstrations. I condemned Black Lives Matter. Of course they have a right to demonstrate. I protected thousands of demonstrators all the time, demonstrated against me always, you remember. Protected them all, nobody ever got hurt. But when you start doing things like Black Lives Matter, and you start distinguishing blacks from whites, and Black Lives Matter takes no account of the 99% of the way in which the other black children die, then you have to wonder, what kind of group is this? And second, they then put on these women, this woman from NAACP who said the following: Mayor Giuliani has never not taken the side of the police. Mayor Giuliani presided over the most brutal period in New York City policing.
This was on Face the Nation this morning.
And they would not give me a chance to respond. Here are the facts. I reduced more crime in the black community than any mayor in history. I saved more black lives than any mayor in the history of the city, over 6,000.
The murder rate in New York was 1,300 or so in 1990.
1,924.
1,924.
And I left it to I left it to Mayor Bloomberg at 500. He took it down to 300. I reduced to 65%. He reduced it 85%. If you calculate that, 75% of the murders are black. We saved somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000 black lives. So it would now be dead today. Now, that didn't happen in Baltimore. That didn't happen in Chicago under black Democratic leadership.
And finally, what should we do? I mean, what is your message to Black Lives Matter?
My message to them is
people of goodwill.
Get rid of the slogan. It is divisive. It's anti-American. It's anti-Christian. Of course, black lives matter, but so do white lives, and so does every other life. And then she went on and said, I never went into the black community. I was in the black community all the time. I went to Hale House every year and took care of the children there. Harlem is Harlem today because of me, not because of Charlie Rangel, not because of David Dinkins. When I took it over, it was a crime capital, and I left it with national stores that it never had before. And I did the same thing in Brooklyn. I fought and I worked for the black community, even though they never voted for me. I took cops from Park Avenue where they voted for me, and I put them up in Harlem to save black lives. And there isn't one of these black racial arsonists that has saved anywhere near the number of black lives that I've saved. And I'll be darned if I'm going to have them malign my reputation and integrity. And also, everybody on this station should know that CBS is a completely unfair station because they would not allow me to go on and rebut the lies that were being said about me. Straight out lies. You know I prosecuted police officers. You know it. She lied about it.
Mayor Giuliani, thank you. And we will get a statement from CBS on